recommended that the applicant hold a public meeting, open house, to provide it to the public and receive community feedback. The applicant may speak to that a little bit in a moment as well. Another thing, prior to second reading with being complete and the ministry and the city being in agreement in terms of required, regarding traffic and transportation. That's it.
Thank you.
Any questions? The applicant is, like I said,
with Smart Centres. I work out of their Richmond, BC office, which is the Western Regional Office. I guess I should just thank staff for such a competent report, and it's not typical that we don't apply for a DP with our rezoning. And I'll say that in this case, the situation exists that a very large development, and there's a build-out probably of 4 to 5 years, and it's unknown at this time of our tenants. So we're unable to actually apply for a DP until we have specific tenants in line. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it. So we've tried to provide the best we could the information that we foresee for the site. That's the reason for what you can see attached to the application. So let me just come back to who we are. Smart Centres is a shopping. It's a private company. We're based out of Toronto. We have about 100 employees. We've developed about 185 shopping centres. We open a shop every 3 weeks somewhere in the country. We're only in Canada, and we're often associated with Walmart, who is a tenant of us. It's a partner in some developments, but mostly a tenant. I think we've developed about 135 Walmarts in the country. We've also developed, Home Depots and Lowe's and IKEAs and you name it. There's a tenant out there that, other than Loblaws really, that we haven't developed everything. So we're a big box style developer. We're the largest in the country. Like I said, we are a private company based in Toronto. We have sold about half of our shopping centres through to a company called Callaway REIT, which is a publicly traded real estate investment trust, and that would be effectively our public company. Between the owner of my company, who is Mitch Gold, who owns Smart Centres, between him and his brother, they own Smart Centres, I think they have about 40% of Callaway shares in us now. So effectively, Callaway works out of an office as a publicly traded real estate investment trust, and it's a partner. So that's the way we handle things. So on title here, we have Callaway and Smart Centres jointly. So Sam and Arm, how did we wind up here? Well, we've been involved and recognized Sam and Arm as a regional trade area, as a service center and a trade area for the Shuswap for a number of years. And we were quite instrumental in getting some of the large style retailers to become interested in this market. We've been in here about 5 years roughly. Previously dealing on native land, and the city approached us with this land at the time, saying that this would be a more appropriate destination. The point we were in at the time, we were further down the road with the natives that we made with it, and as things fell apart, we came back and we're back to the land we were asked to go on in the first place. So that's how we wound up here. The issue with this land is it's 60 acres. What we're looking for in this market is somewhere between 25 acres, so it's much more land than we ever anticipated taking down. But given limited, the parcel size being deep and less highway, we've basically taken the whole thing. And part of the reason we're looking at a residential application is because, one, we didn't know this. Two, the land was expensive, and we had to, we couldn't leave it as agricultural. We had to do something with it. And to support the dedication of parkland and the pond and all the habitat values and things that are going with it, we really do require some kind of development to occur. I would hope that we get some direction from council as to what is an appropriate use back there. Our experience generally with residential is that we're asked to put residential on our developments. So we thought it would be a natural fit, and the site is so deep, it's not ideal for retail to be that far back from the highway. So we assumed that residential was the appropriate use for it, and it wasn't until last week that there was an issue with residential, otherwise I would have had some kind of to address these questions. When I saw the staff report, we realized there was an issue with it. And I just want to speak quickly on the residential. It's really intended to be seniors, sort of house extended care facilities. We see it being complementary to the part of the shopping center. It's likely going to be doctor's offices and things like that there. It's not meant to be a high-density, high-rise sort of site. It's meant to accommodate over time sort of development. It's important too that it's we create, in our opinion, a complete community. So we think residential is an appropriate use. in that section, and the idea would be that the shopping center being adjacent to them. So that was what I worked with. The other thing is I was a bit surprised because I don't really view this as any more removed than some of the other residential areas in Canoe or Raven. The location to the town center is actually closer, I think, than some of the residential areas currently out there. But we look for your direction. We're open to whatever, and we're happy to go through a whole process, receive input. We met with some of the members of CASA already in an attempt to sort of get their impressions what should be appropriate. We've had feedback that residential is, so I'm not clear on how to sort of proceed, and I look forward to receiving your direction. The other thing I want to just quickly speak on is the bank. The bank use is intended to sway from downtown or anything like that. It's not meant to compete with anything. It's meant to service the off-site businesses, and it's in keeping with the type of development. Banks are fairly paramount to this sort of, and the kiosk was intended to be a entry portion of the bank. So it's meant to be a drive-through that supports the local shopping center, and that's the concept of the bank. Also our intent to build out the phase 1, 3, 4 at the same time. We're unsure who this is going to be at this point, because there's some issues of competition in the market, and I'm hoping that once we get through the zoning, we'll be able to lock down some of the tenants on the site. I would suspect that what we'll see is probably the phase 3, 4, the whole development moving slightly north, and one of the issues is the service road connection plan was actually meant to parallel the highway where the land dedications had occurred on the adjacent properties to the east. There's 3 weeks ago we received input finally from Ministry of Transportation that they would consider service further north than the highway. So I foresee the site, we left that space on the Tonchel area so that we could move the site around. I said the site will move slightly north, and we'll have a service road connection below that building is called B, a little bit north of that. We'll have a tie to the east. So that's sort of the highlights. I suspect that on full build-out of just the commercial component, we're looking at about an $80 million investment in the community. This would be somewhere around $1.2 million in DCCs, and about $2 million of tax revenue annually. That's assuming full build-out. There could be up to 800 jobs provided by the development of this sort of nature. So those are sort of the impacts economically for it. The other thing that I should say they're working on actively is this trail linkage that Corey has alluded to. It's clearly our intent to connect the pond through to the existing trail network to the east. And right now, because we don't know the layout of what's happening in the phase 2 with the residential, I would assume that we've just basically to dedicate land around the periphery area. But I would assume that would weave through, ultimately through the residential once it's known what the residential is going to be, and if it is, connecting the park. We're also looking at a situation right now where we've met with some of the people in the Trail Society here locally, and we're actively working with the native band to actually link a trail from this site through the existing West Harbour Village. So, I'm here to answer your question, anything that we do. We are going to hold a meeting. We're waiting for the traffic study to be updated before we hold it. I suspect it would be within the next 3 or 4 weeks. If it's too close to Christmas, we may even hold one in January as well. I'm not too sure how it's going to work yet, but we clearly do want to look at it. So I'm here for your questions.
Thank you. I know our community has sort of been anticipating this for quite some time, and really favorably, so I'm sure you're aware this will be a vicious and a controversial issue, and it's just for council. You're doing an environmental impact study, a traffic impact study, these things, of course, are hard to do. I have had some discussion with council and council, some of staff, and with council of other communities concerning a regional economic impact and social impact study. What would be your reaction to that?
Well, actually, the city undertook a study in 2003, a retail study, saying that there was a demand for more retail that was currently provided in the market. We used those things. The thing, too, is
that was a property study. It wasn't really a...
We identified what pieces were missing, and those. We know, I mean, we own shopping centers both in Vernon and in Kamloops, and we know that there is leakage from the community, and we know that this is a regional trip, and you've got people leaving the community shopping, and I think that you can grow a community if you provide the opportunities. You know, and generally what happens when we build in communities, about 7% of this type of development. Of the 70% is usually here, but on the opposed side, that